When we ask what humanity will become, we are not just talking about tomorrow. We are asking about the next trillion tomorrows on billions and billions of strange new worlds. The road ahead. When we ask what humanity will become, we're really asking two questions. What happens in the next few generations, and what happens in the next few million years, or even billions or trillions of years. Those two horizons, the near and the unimaginably far, are separated by an ocean of possibilities, and yet both matter because the choices we make now echo across that vast future. Welcome to Science and Futurism. I am your host, Isaac Arthur, and today we'll explore the branching pathways of our destiny. We'll start with the oldest dream of all, extending our lives, not merely by decades but by centuries or even indefinitely. We'll consider how artificial intelligence might merge with us, reshaping our minds into something greater or stranger. From there, we'll move into the broader world of transhumanism, enhanced senses, stronger bodies, sharper minds, and whole societies built around augmentation. Beyond that lie the stranger post-human paths, hive minds, uploaded civilizations, beings that stretch across planets or even stars. And all of this happens against the backdrop of humanity's outward migration into the solar system, into other stars, and across timelines of cosmic depth. Because when we speak of the future of humanity, we must remember how deep that future is. Our species is perhaps a few 100,000 years old, the blink of an eye compared to the billions of years Earth has existed. Yet the Sun itself still has 5 billion years of life left, and the stars stretch beyond into timescales of trillions. In that context, everything we have ever known, all of history, all of civilization, every story ever told, is just the opening page of a story that could run longer than the lifetime of the galaxies themselves. So today we ask not just what comes next, but what comes after next, and after that, for as long as time allows, even to civilizations at the end of time itself. What do we mean by human, transhuman, and posthuman? It's easy to talk about the future of humanity as if we all know what human means, but even that word is slippery. 10,000 years ago, a farmer in Mesopotamia might have looked at the modern astronaut in orbit and struggled to see kinship. The farmer's world was oxen and plows. The astronaut's world is titanium alloys, radio chatter, and a fragile shell of oxygen against a vacuum. Yet both are human. If history has taught us anything, it's that humanity is not a fixed state. It's a moving target. Those two humans share nearly identical DNA and anatomy, yet we are so much more than our code or our form. To claim otherwise would be like saying two houses are the same simply because their blueprints match, while ignoring the furnishings inside or the lives unfolding within their walls. There is unlikely to be any solid and non-arbitrary definition of what a human is, yet we need at least a semblance of one to discuss our future and how we change moving forward. In futurism, we often break the progression into 3 stages. The first is what we call baseline humanity. You, me, and everyone alive today, with only the smallest of technological crutches. A pacemaker or a pair of glasses doesn't take you out of that category, though in a technical sense, it does already nudge you into the realm of being a cyborg. Our second two are usually called transhuman and posthuman respectively, and transhuman means to transcend normal humanity. Where the line between each of these stages are is a bit hazy. As I like to say, there's nothing more artificial than an adult human, given that we are crafted by our parents and society, and artificial is to be the product of human effort rather than pure nature. We work very hard to make humans artificial. What's natural is difficult to define, as is what makes one a cyborg, but for practical purposes, we may define the latter as anybody containing significantly more engineered bits than anybody currently has, as it would be peculiar to us to refer to someone with a prosthetic limb or a cochlear implant as a cyborg. At some point you begin to leave behind the strictly human, and again our second stage is transhumanism. This is the gray zone where technology augments us beyond the typical human template. A prosthetic arm that can lift more than a natural one, a neural implant that lets you store terabytes of data or communicate telepathically across Wi-Fi, or genetic editing that makes a child stronger and healthier than the natural baseline ever could be. Transhumans are still recognizably people, but they are no longer confined to the bell curve of what biology alone once allowed, or even being a strong outlier in nearly every category. Someone who is a genius, an Olympic athlete, and a supermodel is still inside the human template with each of those, but may, by cumulative effect, be leaving that human zone. Our third category, the posthuman, leaves no ambiguity. A person who has uploaded their mind into a digital cloud, leaving behind not only the body, but also the limits of our neural architecture, and is no longer human. So too is one who has merged into a hive mind, their identity woven across countless hosts. Such beings may still carry the memory of once being human, but they stand as far removed from us as we are from trilobites. In posthuman pathways, I liken these futures to branches of a tree growing ever further apart, until they scarcely resemble the trunk they sprang from. They remain part of the human clade, even no longer bound to us by genetics. For by this point, human is no longer a species, but a lineage, much as a mammal is. Our first mammalian ancestor is long extinct, yet its descendants thrive in every forest and ocean. In the same way, baseline humanity may fade into memory, but its descendants could number in the millions of forms. And species, as biologists use the term, may prove almost meaningless on such scales. In a high-tech civilization, one individual might graft their intelligence into the roots of a tree, while another might lace so much AI into their brain that their psychology shares little with ours. Ironically, the one rooted in bark and leaf may feel far more familiar to us than one still walking around in a human body. The distinction matters, not because we expect a single neat transition, but because it reminds us that humanity is not singular, but a spectrum. Just as there was no moment when the first modern human was born, there may be no moment when we stop being human. Instead, we may find ourselves scattered across the galaxy, a great family of related beings, some clinging to the old ways, some transhuman, some posthuman, all still quarreling, as families do, over what it means to be truly human. And those arguing this matter millennia from now might include many of us who are alive today, because of our glasses, pacemakers, and prosthetic limbs. Life extension, the oldest dream. If there's one thread running through all of human myth and medicine, it's the longing to live longer. The Epic of Gilgamesh, perhaps our oldest recorded story, is at heart the tale of a man's desperate search for immortality. The earliest sections of the Bible are very focused on longer lives and corruption bringing them shorter, which is a common thread in many other religions and traditions. Alchemists in medieval China sought elixirs of eternal life, often poisoning themselves in the attempt. Modern medicine, though more grounded in science than superstition, has not escaped this ancient dream. Curing disease, repairing injury, and pushing back the horizon of death are pursuits as old as civilization. Today, we stand closer than ever to turning that dream into reality. Advances in genetics, regenerative medicine, and nanotechnology hint at lifespans measured not in decades but in centuries. Already, therapies to clear senescent cells, the zombie cells that accumulate with age, are entering clinical trials. Stem cell research promises to regenerate worn organs. Artificial implants, from pacemakers to synthetic corneas, are extending both the length and quality of life. The first real steps toward longevity are not magic potions, but lab work and engineering. Yet life extension is more than medicine, it is also a societal experiment. Imagine a world where careers last centuries, where marriages might span half a millennium, or where political leaders can hold office not for terms of years, but for lifetimes measured in centuries. Such a society could be unimaginably stable, rich in accumulated wisdom, or unimaginably stagnant, ruled by entrenched elites who simply never die. The tools of longevity may heal inequality or harden it beyond repair. We might also find that immortality itself is not a single threshold, but also a spectrum. At first it may mean living to 120 in good health, then 200, then 500. For some it may be rejuvenation cycles that reset the body to youth every few decades. For others it might mean uploading consciousness into durable machines or cloned bodies. Each of these is life extension, but they carry very different implications for identity, continuity, and what we consider human. A person who modifies themselves enough may no longer be human any more than a tree is the dirt it grew from, or the table and chairs made from it, and the simple accumulation of life and memory may shatter a continuity of identity all by itself, even without huge modification of mind or body. With that in mind, we should not assume everyone will embrace the chance. Some will see it as unnatural, others as a curse. History shows us that new technologies provoke both fear and awe, and that fire, writing, or electricity were once just as controversial. It is hard to imagine a future civilization that does not, at least in part, pursue longer lives. We certainly do these days. Humanity's oldest dream is too deeply rooted in our story to be set aside now that it stands within reach. It has always been one of my preferred life goals and motto: live forever or die trying. Intelligence beyond biology, AI and human integration. If life extension is humanity's oldest dream, then artificial intelligence is not far behind it, as we often envision crafting new persons, often fatally flawed or tragically ended. But Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was hardly our first foray into the notion, albeit our first with scientific creation in mind. It's much in our minds now, and the modern incarnation of artificial intelligence is perhaps the most transformative we've dreamed up, but the emerging reality may skew away from those dreams. For decades, we've pictured AI as an external helper, a digital butler or even a humanoid robot to answer our questions or manage our calendars or mop our floors. But more than likely, and far more profound, the future is not an assistant you speak to, but a partner wired so deeply into your mind that you stop noticing where you end and it begins. Imagine never asking an AI for directions, but simply knowing the fastest route as effortlessly as you recall your own street. Imagine never consulting a database, but remembering the sum of human knowledge as for your own memory. Integration at that level would not feel like speaking to another voice in your head. It would feel like your brain has simply grown another lobe, one devoted to mathematics or history or raw computation. You would not ask the AI a question any more than you ask your hippocampus where you park the car. You would just know. Indeed, you would likely have several specialized AI. For instance, some peripheral of your mind might be designated to anything from better phrasing of words, and another to listen to everyone in a crowded room and deliver a quick synopsis of each conversation. Imagine looking over at the wall nearest you, concentrating for just an instant in the right way, and knowing within a wavelength of light how far it was away. Imagine concentrating for just another moment and seeing right through that wall, as your mind briefly interfaces with all the cameras and sensors nearby to construct that image for you. You never sip your coffee when it's too hot, as I just did now, because you simply know its temperature down to a fraction of a degree, and it never gets cold on you, as some tiny part of your awareness called a drone over to zip it off to the microwave for a reheat. The boundary between human and machine blurs quickly in this model. A surgeon might have real-time diagnostic overlays running inside their thoughts. A linguist might speak any tongue as fluently as their own, because the translation happens before the words even surface in their mind. A child might learn calculus in an afternoon, not by memorization, but by living with a cognitive extension that rewires problem-solving at the root. Yet this power carries unsettling questions. If half your reasoning now occurs in silicon, are you still the same person? If you share those modules with others, where does individuality end and hive mind begin? What happens when some choose deeper integration than others, until they resemble us no more than we resemble the first creatures that dare to grow our nervous system? What's it like to be a baseline human living in a society of the enhanced? Do they leave you alone or sweep you aside? And even if left alone, does living in the shadow of demigods drive you to despair? And do those demigods still hold our values, and hopefully honor them better than we do, or have they grown beyond morality? Or perhaps it is they who are moved to despair, seeing the fundamental nature of things without any blinders or filters, and not liking what they see. For now, we are still in the age of crude implants and external devices, but the trajectory is clear. We are not only on the cusp of building artificial minds, we are on the cusp of weaving them into our own. And in that weaving, we may discover the real successor to humanity is not AI or the people who control them, but simply augmented people. Enhancing the body and mind. When we picture transhumanism, our minds often leap to the spectacular. Superheroes in gleaming armor, metal limbs that can toss cars, eyes that can see across the galaxy. Yet the truth is likely subtler, and in many ways more profound. It's not the comic book extremes that may shape our lives first, but the everyday improvements that ripple through society. Superhuman senses are a prime example. The human eye perceives only a sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, yet the universe blazes with signals beyond our sight. Infrared could let us track heat signatures in darkness. Ultraviolet might reveal patterns on plants invisible to us but obvious to bees. Ultrasonic hearing might let us detect the hum of machinery or the sonar clicks of dolphins. These are not flashy powers meant to topple skyscrapers, but they would remake our relationship with the world, much as Galileo's telescope expanded the heavens, or the microscope revealed the hidden realm of microbes. Physical augmentations may follow a similar course. Exoskeletons already let workers lift heavy loads, and prosthetic legs can outpace Olympic sprinters. The next step is not just restoring lost function, but enhancing the baseline. Bones strengthened against fracture, skin resistant to radiation, muscles that tire more slowly. It may sound extraordinary, but the real effect would be to reduce accidents, prevent disease, and make everyday life less fragile. Of course, it could make people more reckless too. And then there are the quiet revolutions of the mind. Imagine a society where nobody suffers from chronic insomnia, where moods can be balanced with precision, and where depression or anxiety never need overwhelm. Picture a world where metabolic disorders are corrected at the genetic level, where Alzheimer's is erased not by care facilities, but by cellular rejuvenation. There are no lunatics because they are simply too easily noticed and effectively helped by superior psychological science, not merely physical science and technology. These are not the superpowers of Pulp Fiction, yet they may change more lives than laser eyes or cybernetic arms ever could. The irony is that the most mundane changes can be the most transformative. A pill that guarantees restful sleep, a tweak that sharpens memory, or a genetic edit that eliminates cancer may never make headlines like cyborg soldiers, but they could alter the trajectory of a civilization. A society that does not suffer exhaustion, chronic pain, or degenerative disease is not a society of superheroes. It is a society of healthier, more capable people, and in the long run, that may be the most powerful augmentation of all. Civilizations of the Augmented. It's one thing for individuals to alter themselves, but what happens when entire societies embrace it? The answer may be as diverse as humanity itself. In some times or places, augmentation may be the province of the wealthy. Cosmetic edits, designer enhancements, neural upgrades treated as status symbols. These societies may glitter with fashion-driven technology, where identity is as customizable as clothing. In others, augmentation will be born of necessity. On a radiation-bathed moon, engineering DNA might be the only way to bear children safely. On a frozen rock, cybernetic metabolisms might reduce the burden of food production. As we saw in our episode Cyborg Civilizations, what begins as survival becomes culture, and what begins as culture becomes identity. Over centuries, these differences compound. A society that treats augmentation as normal might raise children with the expectation of choosing new traits the way we choose careers. Another that views it with suspicion may enshrine laws against it, clinging to baseline humanity as a badge of honor, and a society might do some of each, viewing some changes as no more relevant than dyeing your hair, while viewing others as grossly inhuman, and those might change over time too. Trade, migration, and intermarriage between such worlds could be as complex as the mingling of religions or nations on Earth, but with the added wrinkle that the differences are not just philosophical, but biological and technological. History gives us hints. Diasporas scattered languages and customs across continents, often diverging until they seemed like entirely different peoples. But with augmentation, divergence would not just be in culture but in form. One branch of humanity may come to see in the ultraviolet, while another develops lungs for thin atmospheres, and another embraces cybernetics so thoroughly that they scarcely eat at all. Each will still call itself human, but the definitions of that word may not agree. As I said earlier, in time the term human may come to resemble mammal, a category so broad it includes creatures that no longer recognize each other at a glance. Yet they will still share a lineage, and perhaps even a sense of kinship, however strained. Indeed, you may see the tensest of relationships between two fairly similar clades, simply because they view each other as perversions. Civilizations of the Augmented would not just be societies with new toys, they would be the seeds of entirely new branches of our family tree. When we talk about the far future of humanity, we often imagine how we will grow, not just biologically, but through the tools and technologies we create. My November monthly exclusive episode, Autonomous Space Industry, When AI and Robots Run the Economy, explores how intelligent machines and self-replicating factories could help humanity unfold its future across the stars. Every month for years now, I've released an exclusive episode on Nebula, along with bonus content and extended editions, and there's quite the treasure trove there now to hunt through. But Nebula is also home to many new originals, thought-provoking, creative, and beautifully produced. One of my favorites right now is Scav from the Wendover team, which takes viewers inside the world's largest scavenger hunt. Every year, a 20-page list sends students at the University of Chicago into 4 days of hilarious, brilliant chaos, racing to complete the most bizarre challenges imaginable. You can find Scav, Autonomous Space Industry, and every SFI episode early and ad-free at go.nebula.tv/IsaacArthur. Get a lifetime membership, normally $500, for just $300, and unlock everything forever, or get an annual plan for 40% off, $36 a year. That's 12 months for the price of 7. Scan the QR code or click the link below to start watching now. Strange posthuman pathways. Beyond augmentation lies the territory where humanity begins to dissolve into something new, futures that challenge our imagination as much as our definitions. One path leads inward, into the digital. If minds can be uploaded into machines, then whole civilizations might migrate into simulations, where reality itself is malleable. There, time could run faster or slower at will, universes could be spun up and discarded like novels, and individuality might blur as minds are copied, forked, and merge again. For those within, this could feel like paradise, or like an endless hall of mirrors. For those outside, it might be impossible to even understand. Another path leads outward, into the collective. Hive minds need not be dystopian collectives stripped of individuality. They might be consensual unions where many voices blend into one harmony, a choir greater than the sum of its singers. But to outsiders, such beings may appear alien, even threatening. The very concept of negotiation or friendship becomes slippery when you are dealing with an intelligence that does not think in singular terms. And then there are possibilities so exotic they seem like science fiction. Consciousness stretched across the solar system, each planet or satellite a node in a vast cloud mind, thinking in rhythms of centuries. Biotechnological creations where intelligence is rooted in forests, reefs, or fungal networks, their thoughts growing as slowly and as surely as trees. Engineered collectives where individual bodies are no more independent than cells in your bloodstream. At some point along these roads, the word human simply begins to fail us, and perhaps even posthuman becomes strained, no more accurate than calling us a post-amoeba. Is a mind still human if it has no body, if it shares no DNA, if its beating heart is an entire sun that has wrapped itself around, if it thinks on timescales so vast that our lives are to it what an insect's lifespans are to us? Perhaps what endures is not the label but the legacy, curiosity, creativity, and the will to shape our destiny. In that sense, posthuman futures are not the end of the human story, but the continuation of its oldest theme, the refusal to stay as we are. Outward migration, stars and timelines. No matter what form we take, our destiny is unlikely to remain bound to Earth. Expansion outward has always been part necessity, part aspiration. Even before the stars, there are stepping stones. The Moon and Mars, and after Mars the asteroid belt, the Oort cloud, rogue planets adrift in the dark. These may be humanity's first interstellar colonies, not because they are easy, but because they are on the way. Interstellar journeys will begin cautiously, generational ships carrying whole communities, cryogenic arcs waiting to be revived, or swarms of smaller habitats moving like drifting fleets. Each voyage will be long, and each will shape its passengers differently. Some will arrive after centuries, changed in culture and biology. Others may linger for millennia in slow time. Methuselah ships whose calmness never age, or those who go on ice, only to awaken futures unrecognizable to the world they left. The effect will be a branching of humanity's story. As with migrations across continents in our past, distance and time will turn kin into strangers, and strangers into those as close as kin, brought together by a shared struggle to tame a strange new land. A world settled 1,000 light years away may see itself as the true heir of humanity, even as Earth thinks the same, and we might be horrified by either's claim, or struck dumb in awe of their magnificence, and humbled they would deem us peers. The diaspora will not just diversify cultures but timelines, histories unfolding in parallel, some converging again, others forever separate. humanity will become a chorus of civilizations, each echoing from a different corner of the stars. Risks, fears, and pushback. Not everyone will embrace these futures. Some will resist even modest changes. The uncanny valley, the uneasy reaction to beings, almost but not quite human, will sharpen as augmented individuals walk among us. If a neighbor has eyes that glint in infrared or skin engineered to resist radiation, admiration may mix with suspicion. More troubling is inequality. If only a few can afford radical longevity or deep AI integration, the gulf between the enhanced and the unaltered could widen into something unbridgeable, especially given how such advantages would let them further widen such gaps. Civilizations may fracture along those lines, just as wealth and class have often divided societies throughout history. And if enhanced elites gain dominance, fears of permanent stratification, a two-tiered humanity, may come true. The risks go deeper. AI woven into our thoughts may act as a guide, but could also become a gatekeeper, or the pathway by which propaganda and skewed visions of reality are fed to us in ways no mind could resist, nor by reason overcome. Hive minds and uploaded collectives may lose their humanity in ways that outsiders find alien or even hostile. Like fire, electricity, and nuclear power, every leap of progress carries the shadow of misuse. To reject that shadow entirely would halt progress, but to ignore it would be reckless. Humanity on cosmic timescales. All of these choices, dramatic as they seem, may play out on the scale of mere centuries or millennia, but the universe offers us far longer stages. Stars burn for billions of years, galaxies endure for trillions. Against those spans, even civilizations of thousands of years are but a heartbeat. I devoted many episodes to means of expanding the lives of stars and to let civilizations outlast those stars and even the galaxies themselves. In the deep future, humanity may become unrecognizable. Evolution, once a blind force, may become deliberate or irrelevant. Entire lineages of post-human beings could rise and vanish, while individuals alive today might live through such eras as casually as we outlast fashions. And still, that may not be the end. The spark of mind could outlive flesh, spreading among the stars and machine bodies, or woven in the very fabric of space-time. Beyond Posthuman lie stages we cannot yet name, just as trilobites could never have dreamed of Mozart, or microchips, or voyages to the moon. It's humbling to realize that our story may be only the prologue in a saga stretching longer than the lifetime of stars. The expanding story. So what will humanity become? The honest answer is many things, or nothing. We may be wiped out by our own hubris or recklessness, but if we survive that, then a spectrum of beings, scattered across space and time, some clinging to tradition, others transformed beyond recognition. A tree with countless branches, each bearing fruit we can scarcely imagine. Even if the word human fades as a biological category, the story of humanity endures in our descendants, our creations, and whatever minds inherit our dreams. To ask what we will become is to acknowledge that we will not need to stand still. Change is our constant, and that is a hopeful thought, for the future of humanity is not an ending, but a beginning, the first chapter in a tale that may stretch across the universe and into eternity.